Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about double distribution. None of this is really brand new, but we do want to review this before we move into our next lesson. Okay, so double distribution, out front I have an x plus 2 that I need to multiply by x plus 4. So first I'm going to take this x and multiply it by everything behind it, and then I'm going to take this positive 2 and multiply it. So I'm going to take x times x is x squared. Now I'm going to take this x and multiply by 4. X times 4 is a positive 4x. Alright, so now I need to take this positive 2 and multiply. So 2 times x is a positive 2x. 2 times 4 is a positive 8. I'm not quite done because I see I have x's and x's, so I need to combine my like terms. My x squareds drop. I have 4x's plus 2x's. That's going to give me a positive 6x. And my plus 8 drops down. Alright, so on this next one I need to multiply by y. So y times y is y squared. Y times 1 is a positive 1y. So now that I'm done multiplying by that y, I'm going to multiply by this positive 5. So 5 times y is a positive 5y. And 5 times 1 is a positive 5. So now that I've done that, I need to combine my like terms. I have y's here and here. My y squareds drop down. 1y plus 5y is going to give me a positive 6y's. And I can't forget to drop that plus 5. Alright, so I'm going to multiply by a. A times a is a squared. A times negative 2 is a negative 2a. So now I need to multiply by this positive 5. 5 times a is 5a. 5 times negative 2 is a negative 10. So we combine. My a squareds drop down. Negative 2a plus 5a is a positive 3a. And I won't forget my minus 10. Okay, so I'm going to start with this m and multiply. M times m is m squared. Next I take m and multiply by that positive 6 to get a positive 6m. So now I'm going to move on to multiplying by a negative 3. Negative 3 times n is a negative 3m. And then next I take negative 3 times that positive 6 to give me a negative 18. I combine my m's. This m squared drops. 6m plus a negative 3m is going to give me a positive 3m. And my minus 18 drops. Okay, so how will that look as a word problem? So this one is telling me to find the area of a rectangle. Well, I know to find the area of a rectangle, we take the length and we multiply by the width. So I'm going to take my 3x plus 7, and I'm going to multiply it by 5x minus 13. So start with my 3x and multiply. 3x times 5x is 15x squared, because remember, x to the first times x to the first, you add those up. 1 plus 1 is 2. So next I take my 3x and I'm multiplying it by negative 13. So I know that 3x times a negative 13 is a negative 39x. So now I move on to multiplying by this positive 7. So 7 times 5x is a positive 35x. And then finally I need to take my 7 and multiply by a negative 13. And that's going to give me a negative 91. Combine my like terms. My x squareds drop. We have a negative 39x and a positive 35x, so negative 39 plus 35 is a negative 4x. And my minus 91 drops. Okay, so I'm going to start with my 6a and multiply by 2a. That's going to give me 12a squared, because the a times a. Then I take my 6a and I multiply by 3. That's going to give me a positive 18a. Now I move on to multiply by a positive 2. 2 times 2a is a positive 4a. And finally, 2 times 3 is a positive 6. So I combine my like terms. My 12a squareds drop. 18a plus 4a is a positive 22a. And my plus 6 drops. Okay, this one gets a little bit tougher because we have two variables now. So I'm going to start with my 4x and I'm going to multiply by 7x. Well, 4x times 7x is a 28x squared, x times x. Next, I take that 4x and I'm going to multiply by negative 2y. Well, 4 times negative 2 is a negative 8. X times y is just xy. Alright, so now I need to take this positive y and distribute. Y times 7x is going to give me a positive 7. Y times x is yx, but remember we want to put variables in alphabetical order, so that's xy. And then finally I'm going to have y times negative 2y. That's going to give me a negative 2y squared, y times y. So now I combine my like terms. I have xy's and xy's, so this 28x squared drops down. A negative 8 plus a 7 is a negative 1, so I'm going to have negative 1xy. Remember, you don't need that 1, so you could have put minus xy. And my minus 2y squareds drop. So again, start with y. Y times y is y squared. Then I take y and multiply it by 6 to give me a positive 6y. I move on to this negative 6, so I'm going to be multiplying by negative 6. Negative 6 times y is a negative 6y. And then negative 6 times a positive 6 is a negative 36. Combine my like terms, so my y squareds drop. So I have a positive 6y and a minus 6y. Well, I know 6 and a negative 6 would cancel, so my y's cancel out. But I can't forget to drop my minus 36. Okay, I want to go ahead and jump to number 11. I'm going to start with 2r. So I'm going to take 2r and multiply by 2r. So that's going to give me 4r squared. So next I take my 2r and I multiply by a negative s. That's going to give me negative 2rs. Remember, alphabetical order. So now I'm going to move on to this positive s. So I'm multiplying by a positive s. S times 2r is a positive 2rs. Remember, put them in alphabetical order. And then finally, s times negative s is going to give me a negative s squared. Combine your like terms. So my 4r squareds drop, because there are no other r squareds. I have a negative 2rs and a positive 2rs. I notice that those are opposite, so those cancel. And I can't forget to drop my minus s squared. Okay, so guys, these first four problems are very similar. So what I would like you to do right now is to pause the video to do number 9 and 10 on your own real quick, and then I will do them as well, and then I want you to check yours with mine, okay? So go ahead and pause it and try to work them out, and then turn the video back on to check. Okay, so these are the answers you should have gotten on 9 and 10. All right, so let's move on. 12 through 15 are very similar type problems. So right now I'm going to go ahead and do 14 and 15 with you real quick, and then I want you to try 12 and 13. You're going to pause the video and try those on your own. Okay, so this says 6x plus 2 squared. Okay, so I have a lot of students that get confused based off of what we did last chapter. They try to give this exponent to everything on the inside. Well, the difference is last chapter we didn't have a plus 2 or a minus. There was never a plus or minus on the inside when we gave the exponent to everything on the inside. So if there is no plus or minus, you can go ahead and do that. But since I see a plus, I know I can't do this. I can't just give it to everything on the inside. It will not work out correctly. So what this means is I want 2 of these guys being multiplied together. So I'm going to rewrite it as 6x plus 2 times 6x plus 2. And now I'm going to do the same thing we have been doing. I'm going to multiply by this 6x. 6x times 6x is 36x squared. Then I take 6x and I multiply by 2. That's going to give me a positive 12x. So now I'm going to move on to multiply by 2. 2 times 6x is a positive 12x. And then 2 times 2 is a positive 4. All we have left is to combine our like terms. There are no other x squareds. So those 36x squareds drop down. 12x plus 12x, guys, those are not opposites. 12 plus 12 is a positive 24. And those are my x's. My plus 4 will drop. Okay, let's try 15. So I see a minus sign on the inside, so I know I can't just give this exponent to everything on the inside without messing up. So I'm going to write it out. I know it means a minus 3b times itself. So I'm going to start with this a and multiply. A times a is a squared. Then I take a times a negative 3b to get negative 3ab. So now I'm going to move on to multiply by negative 3b. Well, negative 3b times a is negative 3ab. Remember, you put your variables in alphabetical order. And then finally, negative 3b times a negative 3b. That's going to give me a positive 9b squared. So now I combine my like terms here and here. My a squareds drop. Negative 3 and negative 3 are not opposites. Negative 3 plus negative 3 is a negative 6ab. And my plus 9b squareds drop. Okay, so pause the video. I want you to try 12 and 13 on your own, and then check with mine whenever you finish. Sorry, that's just the bell. All right, so make sure you check your answers that you had it correct. Okay, so on this next page, guys, there's 3 problems. I want to do this middle one first, and then you're going to try the first and last one on your own and check with mine. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in so we can have room to work. Okay, so on this one, it's very similar, but I'm multiplying a binomial times a trinomial. So instead, when I'm multiplying, instead of having only 2 loops, I'm going to have an extra third loop. Okay, so I'm going to start with this 3m and multiply. So I'm going to take this 3m and multiply by 5m squared. So that's going to give me 15m to the third, because I have 1 right here. I'm multiplying by 2 over here, so that's m to the third. Now I'm going to take 3m and multiply by 6m. That's going to give me a positive 18m squared. And then I'm going to take my 3m and multiply by negative 4. That's going to give me a negative 12m. So now I'm going to be multiplying by this positive 2. So 2 times 5m squared is a positive 10m squared. 2 times 6m is a positive 12m. And then 2 times negative 4 is a negative 8. So now that I've done that, I'm going to combine my like terms. There are no other m cubed, so this guy drops down. I have m squareds and m squared, so I add those numbers together. 18 and 10 give me a positive 28, and those are my m squareds. Okay, as I look at my m's, I have a negative 12m and a positive 12m. I notice those are opposites. Opposites cancel. And my regular number, this is my only one, so it drops down. So it's the same idea, you're just multiplying an extra time. All right, so I want you to try the first and the last one on your own, so pause the video when you're done, play the video, and then you can check yours with mine. Okay, so that's what you should have gotten on those other two. So please make sure that those are the answers you got. If not, please find your mistake and correct it. All right, let's continue to move. Okay, on this one it tells me to find the volume of a prison. Well, I know to find the volume of this prison, I know it's going to be length times width times height. So it's going to be very similar to what we just did, except we're going to be multiplying 3 things together instead of just 2. So I'm going to start by multiplying 2 of these guys together. It doesn't matter which 2 you start with. I'm going to start with these 2, so I can just put this guy in parentheses and then multiply by x plus 1. So I'm multiplying these 2 guys together right now. After I finish that, then I'll multiply by this side. All right, so first I'm going to multiply by 2x. That's going to give me 2x times x is 2x squared. Then I'm going to multiply 2x by 1. That's going to give me a positive 2x. Now I'm going to move on to multiplying by negative 1. Negative 1 times x is a negative 1x. Negative 1 times 1 is a negative 1. I combine my like terms. Sorry, the bell. All right, so my x squareds drop. Now I have to combine my x's. A 2 and a negative 1 combine to give me a positive 1, and those are x's. My negative 1 drops. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to take this guy and multiply by this third piece over here. So I'm going to go ahead and put this one in parentheses, and now I'm going to multiply by, actually let me do that in a separate step. All right, so first I'm going to multiply by x. So x times 2x squared is 2x cubed. X times 1x is a positive 1x squared. X times a negative 1 is a negative 1x. So now I need to multiply by this positive 9. 9 times 2x is a positive 18x squared. 9 times 1x is a positive 9x. And 9 times a negative 1 is a negative 9. So now I just have to combine my like terms. There are no other x cubes, so those drop down. I have x squareds here, I have x squareds here. 1 and 18 give me a positive 19 x squareds. I have negative 1x and I have a positive 9x. I add those two numbers together to get a positive 8x. And my only regular number is a negative 9, so it drops. So once I multiply the length, the width, and the height, this is the volume that I would get. Okay, on this next problem, it tells me to find the total area of both rectangles. Total means to add. So to find the area, I'm going to take the length and width of each one and multiply them together. So I'm going to start here. So I'm going to take my 4x and I'm going to multiply by 12x minus 7. So this time I only have to multiply by 4x because there's nothing else. So 4x times 12x, that's going to give me a 48x squared. 4x times a negative 7 is going to give me a negative 28x. So that is the area of the first rectangle. So now we find the area of this guy. So I have 6x plus 2, and I'm going to multiply that by 3x minus 2. And that's because to find area, you do length times width. So I'm multiplying by 6x. 6x times 3x is going to give me 18x squared. 6x times a negative 2 gives me a negative 12x. Now I'm going to move on to multiplying by a positive 2. 2 times 3x is a positive 6x. And 2 times a negative 2 is a negative 4. Combine my like terms. My 18x squareds drop. Negative 12x plus 6x is going to give me a negative 6x. And my minus 4 drops. All right, awesome. So I found the area of each one. I am not done because I want to find the total area, so I need to add these two guys together. So I'm going to have 48x squared minus 28x add the area of the second rectangle. So now all I have to do is to combine my like terms. I have x squareds and x squareds. So I have a 48 plus an 18, which is going to give me a 66. So it's 66x squared. Then I have my x's. I have a negative 28 and a negative 6, which is going to add together to give me a negative 34x. And my minus 4 will drop. So that is the total area. Oops, I'm sorry, guys. That is the total area of both of those rectangles put together. All right, later, guys.